And today we're taking a deep dive into a case study that has it all: celebrity, scandal, and a whole lot of nonverbal cues.
Bubble up, folks. This one's a doozy.
We're talking, of course, about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' recent red carpet appearance.
Specifically at the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special.
Right. Now, on the surface, it was all smiles and glamour.
But if you look closely, there are some fascinating hints beneath the surface, which features commentary from body language expert Nicole Moore.
Yes. She breaks down some key moments, starting with Blake Lively's pose on the red carpet.
Now, she was striking this very confident stance, hand on her hip, shoulders back, chin held high.
What some might call a power position.
Precisely. And this pose is all about taking up space, projecting self-assurance.
I see. So it's not just about looking good for the cameras, it's sending a message.
Exactly. Think about the context here. This was Blake's first public appearance since filing that sexual harassment lawsuit against Justin Baldoni.
Right. So this power position could be a way of projecting strength in a situation where she might be feeling vulnerable.
That's a very astute observation.
It's like she's subconsciously saying, I'm not backing down.
Exactly.
And then we have Ryan Reynolds. Now, according to Nicole Moore, his body language was much more focused on connection with Blake.
Almost like he was trying to draw her in.
Oh, really? Like, how so?
Well, for example, the article highlights how he leaned in close when telling her a joke.
Okay,
And it was also observed walking towards her on the red carpet rather than waiting for her.
I see.
So these actions could indicate he was seeking connection, perhaps trying to comfort or support her in the midst of all this scrutiny.
I get that. But couldn't that also be interpreted as a protective gesture? You know, with all the cameras and attention on them, maybe he's just instinctively trying to shield her a bit.
That's definitely a valid interpretation, and it speaks to the complexity of body language.
Not always black and white.
Exactly. We can't always know the exact motivation behind every gesture.
True. But even so, just looking at the contrast between their body language is really intriguing.
Oh, absolutely.
You have Blake's strong, almost closed-off stance, and then you have Ryan's more open and forward movements.
It definitely makes you wonder what's happening beneath the surface.
We're putting on a united front vibes for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But even then, little things slip through, you know?
Right.
For example, you mentioned Ryan leaning in to tell Blake a joke.
Yes.
But the article also talks about how he made a joke during the actual SNL 50 special.
Oh, yes. When he was asked how he was doing, he responded with, "Great, why? What have you heard?"
I mean, that felt like a pretty clear reference to the lawsuit, right?
Absolutely.
And the article even mentions Blake's reaction.
Right. It says she seemed genuinely surprised and maybe even a little upset by the joke.
Oof. So it's like he threw her under the bus a little bit. I can't imagine how awkward that must have been.
And that awkwardness raises the question of whether he had prepped Blake about the joke beforehand.
Right.
Nicole Moore seems to think that Blake's reaction points to him not warning her.
So maybe they're not as on the same page about all this as they're trying to project.
Possibly.
Wow, this is getting juicy. So we have this lawsuit that's clearly putting pressure on them. And then we have these contrasting body language signals, Blake projecting strength, Ryan seemingly trying to connect. What does it all mean?
Well, it could suggest some underlying tension or disagreement about how to handle this whole ordeal.
Fascinating. It's like their bodies are telling a different story than the smiles they're presenting to the cameras.
Precisely, and that's the power of body language. It can reveal so much about a person's true emotions and intentions.
Even when they're trying to project something else entirely.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. We need to dig deeper into this. But first, I'm dying to know more about how Ryan and Blake typically use humor in their relationship. Is that a common way for couples to communicate and connect?
Oh, absolutely. Humor can be incredibly powerful in relationships.
Okay, good to know.
But in this case, with Ryan's joke on SNL, it seems like maybe it didn't quite land the way he intended.
We'll explore that more when we come back.
Absolutely.
So Ryan's SNL joke, not his best work, huh?
Well, humor is subjective.
True, but you could practically feel the tension through the screen.
Yeah, Blake's reaction was pretty telling.
It makes me think back to what Nicole Moore said about her body language, you know, that closed-off stance.
Uh-huh.
Could a lawsuit be making her feel more vulnerable, and that's why she's projecting strength through her posture?
It's certainly possible. You know, imagine facing public scrutiny, legal proceedings, the whole 9 yards.
Yep, not exactly a walk in the park.
It's really natural to want to protect yourself.
Right.
And sometimes body language can be an unconscious way of doing that.
It's like she's putting on armor, almost.
In a way, yeah.
But then you have Ryan, who seems to be taking a different approach, reaching out, trying to connect. Do you think that difference in how they're handling this whole ordeal could be causing tension between them?
It wouldn't be surprising. Every couple has their own way of dealing with stress and conflict.
Right.
And when you throw in a very public lawsuit, it can really amplify those differences.
So they might be presenting this united front to the world, but under the surface.
Their body language hints at a more complicated story.
Exactly. It's like two different coping mechanisms at play, and they're clashing a bit.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But isn't that something we all do in relationships? I mean, we might not have cameras following our every move.
Oh, for sure.
But we all have our own ways of reacting to things.
Absolutely. And that's why analyzing body language is so fascinating.
It's true.
It offers this window into the unspoken dynamics between people.
Right.
Those subtle cues that reveal so much more than words ever could.
It's making me think about how much we can learn from paying attention to those nonverbal signals. It's like a whole other language we need to decode.
Precisely. And it's a language we all speak, whether we're aware of it or not.
Whoa.
Our bodies are constantly communicating,
Wow.
sending out messages through our posture, gestures, even tiny micro-expressions on our faces.
So you're saying we should all be more aware of not just what people are saying, but how they're saying it, or rather, how their bodies are saying it.
Exactly. And not just for celebrity gossip.
Oh,
Think about your own interactions at work, in your relationships.
okay.
Once you start paying attention to these nonverbal cues, you might be surprised by how much you can learn about the people around you.
Mind blown. Okay, I'm definitely going to be more observant from now on.
Good.
But before I start analyzing every twitch and gesture, I'm curious about one more thing.
Sure.
We've focused a lot on the differences between Blake and Ryan's body language.
Yes.
But are there any similarities that stand out to you? Do they ever mirror each other's movements or postures?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
And it gets to the heart of how couples communicate non-verbally. Sometimes mirroring can be a sign of deep connection and empathy, but it can also be used strategically, like a way of subtly influencing someone's emotions or behavior.
Mirroring, huh? So sometimes it's a good thing.
Right.
And sometimes it's a power move.
Well, it can be. Like I said, it depends on the context and those little details.
Like what? Give me an example.
Sure. So is the mirroring exact, or is there a slight delay? Are their facial expressions matching the posture they're mirroring? Those things can tell you a lot.
Wow, this is deep.
It really is.
Like if we've been missing this whole other layer of communication.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even when people are trying to present a certain image, their bodies often tell a different story.
And sometimes that story is way more interesting.
Often, yeah.
So what you're saying is we should all be paying more attention to this stuff, not just with celebrities?
Absolutely. It's a powerful tool for understanding ourselves and the people around us.
I like that.
It's something we can all continue to learn and explore.
Well, I feel like I've learned a ton today.
It's been fun.
It really has. And thanks to you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey into the world of body language.
Thanks, everyone.
We've uncovered some secrets about Blake and Ryan,
Maybe.
but more importantly, we've learned how much we can all learn from paying attention to those nonverbal cues.
It's a whole other world.
So next time you're people watching, remember, actions often speak louder than words.
Louder, yeah.
Until next time, happy decoding.